Turf Business TV are now joined for an exclusive interview with Geoff Webb, Chief Executive of the Grounds Management Association. Apart from the new brand, Geoff, you've been carrying out over the last however long some research that looks at the impact of investment on grassroots pitches and facilities, I think would be the fairest way to put it. And I think the research that you've come back with says that I think in total nearly 2 million children could miss out, or in fact could benefit if there was more investment. Do you want to give us a little bit more detail on the opening headline there?
Yeah, absolutely. The Back to Play Beyond the Season of Sport document that we just launched is really a discussion paper, a white paper to stimulate debate around the whole area of the state of the nation's pitches. It breaks down as well the effect on health, priority given to different user groups in terms of the players using the pitches. Also the effect and the impact of our communities, how through good provision you can make sport possible, and also it's a call to arms really aimed at primarily the volunteer sector here, to get involved in your local sports club to bring pitches up to scratch really. So it builds on the work of the Gantit programme. So within the document itself, it explains where the Gantit programme's had that impact and the improvements that's made on pitches in general. And we've now looked at over 4,500 pitches. And that scheme's been up and running, as you know, with the sports bodies. So we've got a great partnership with the Football Foundation and the FA combined, working with the England and Wales Cricket Board alongside Sport England in that regard. And it just proves that with some sustained work, which is the culmination of years of work now, you can improve pitches, and in particular the natural turf pitches, which predominate the landscape of sport in England. As the document says, over 51,000 pitches across the sports. There's a latent demand for play, but it's how you manage that latent demand and provide the access and the capacity for those pitches to thrive and for the clubs to then survive as a result of that. So building on that, as you know, we launched the Grounds for Sport campaign last year. We talked about that at the Turf Business Conference with yourselves. And we've put a structured plan of action in place to raise the profile of the issues facing the sector. That was highlighted by the report we did back in last year, Sports Vital Profession, which we kind of described the profession as a bit of a ticking time bomb when you look at the age profile of the volunteer sector. 2/3 are over 60, and even in the professional sector you've got 1 in 5 over 40. And how you look at addressing the balance of the people in the sector and providing that production line and encouragement for people to get involved, be they volunteer or be they professional. So the document released today has been really well received. We've had a lot of traction with the nationals on it, and it's creating a lot of interest. And what it is doing is stimulating some debate and some focus into the profession of grounds management, the volunteer grassroots aspect of it, as much as the professional element of that. So it's highlighting the profession, and I think it's something that I know that you at Turf Business have been doing through your summits, and we're all in this together. We want our profession to thrive, and we want it to be alive and healthy way after this pandemic passes through. And really that's why we've launched today the sort of Back to Play. How do you get back to play? What are the issues facing it? It's probably going to be accelerated by the crisis that we're in. Local authorities in particular, where football's predominantly played, no doubt they're going to have major dilemmas on their hands of where they invest, how they invest, can they invest. But what we're saying is protect the resource and protect that skill set that exists around you to enable sport to be played. And like I said before, the Grounds and Natural Turf Improvement Programme has really proved that you can do quite a lot of good work for small investment, but it's that regular attention to detail, little maintenance done often, will actually save you in the long term going out for major surgery later. when you can actually keep on top of the pitch provision. So during the lockdown, one of the things that we've been doing is working with the governing bodies of sport on interim guidance documents, which we published and are up on our COVID pages on the website. But just to teach people how to manage with a restricted budget or with restrictions around them placed on them by what we're all facing today. Therefore, they can then get to a point when play is released and the restrictions are less than they are currently, that the pitches are coming back into play at the right point. So it's all about maximising that opportunity as the green light is pressed for sport to return.
You gave me a very comprehensive answer there, and there's a few points that are buried in the kind of document that I've seen that I'd like to pick up on. One, the bias towards male and adult sport being played over and above, and at the sacrifice of women's football in particular, and junior football and junior sport. What do you think can be done about that?
I think it's a really tough one because I think you've got to credit the Football Association have probably done more than anybody to advance the cause of women's sport, and all the sports have got a plan of action for female participation, and also junior participation is obviously key because they're going to be the next Harry Kanes and the like. But if you have less available pitches to play on, or the capacity is simply not there, then you're in a bit of a queuing system. And I guess, to be honest about it, there's a legacy issue because really males have dominated the sporting agenda, and female sport is coming up on the rails now, and it's got that latent demand. Why shouldn't a female or a junior play on the same quality of pitch as the male adult? And it's how you strike that balance. So you'll find that there are really good examples where that's managed well, and you'll find examples where it's simply not. And it's all about trying to find that balance to match that demand and give everybody a fair crack at playing in that part of the week that probably is the most sought after, and that's normally, if you're a junior, you're probably talking Saturday morning activity or maybe Sunday morning. Adult football probably is taking place on a Saturday afternoon, and women's football, as we know, we've seen in the professional leagues, a lot of good work's actually gone on by Premier League clubs. For example, I know that Liverpool have been helping out with Tranmere Rovers situation. Only this week I've seen Darren and the team at Tottenham helping out lower league football as well. And I think it's going to come from a combination of activity and help and thought, and probably it's a bit of a mindset issue as well.
Again, the figures in the report would suggest that this is a bigger problem for cricket than perhaps it is for rugby and football, just in terms of the fact that over half of cricket players, you're saying, may well be affected by this. Is that purely down to investment, or is that because there's a lack of volunteers in those sectors?
Cricket has great volunteers, and it's got a tradition of experienced volunteers as well. I think what we would say is that we know cricket are working to a plan of action, and I'm sure they'll come forward with new initiatives. I mean, I think everybody's at the moment just dealing with the impact of the pandemic that we're in, and I think unfortunately for all the sports, it's put on hold probably some of the great progress they're already making behind the scenes. So I think this is, if you like, a worst case scenario, and it's based around the fact that if we don't take action and fill the void that could be left by the ageing profile of workforce, etc., then that's when it becomes a problem. And we think there's roughly sort of 5 years to turn that sort of scenario around with some concentrated effort. So it's incumbent on everybody to probably sit around a table and look at the issues facing not just us, but the sports as well, and to work out a route to ensure that doesn't become the case. If we can increase participation rates by preparing good pitches, and we can reduce cancellations by preparing good pitches, then we're playing our role in helping those sports avoid that particular scenario. And that's really what this paper does. It kicks off that discussion it brings it into focus, and it enables everybody to think about, well, what strategies are in play, what do I possibly need to do that I'm not doing already, and how can we arrive at solutions to tackle that.
So you've launched this report today. It's getting a lot of traction, as you say. What's next in terms of making this become a reality?
Well, one of the things we're also working on, which we've spoken, I think, in the past to you about, is introducing a national framework for natural turf. So that is the pyramid that we've talked about in the past, which links technical standards of provision of sports facilities, be they your local community sports facility, right through to the iconic venues we've got across sport. So the technical proficiency we want to encourage. But we also want to provide education and support in terms of people's career development, or quite simply, I just want to get involved as a local person helping out my local sports club. So we're changing everything that we're doing in terms of making our courses more accessible. So we launched last week our first online batch of online learning, which has gone down really, really well. We've had really good sign up to that just in the past week. We've also lowered the price of entry to make it much more accessible from a price point of view. And I think the next thing that we're going to do is working on the back of the interim works documents that we put together with the governing bodies of sport. The next series will be enabling play to happen again. So we've got a webinar tonight that Jason and his team are running, which is all about trying to help the volunteer sector work out what they need to do to get the pitches fit and healthy again, like we say, when that green light is pressed.
Is that a webinar that's open to everybody, or is it something that's a closed invite?
No, it's completely free. It's been advertised through our social media channels, so you can sign up for free. There's no cost of entry. We've had a great sign up already, so I'd encourage anybody if they're interested. It's 8 p.m. this evening, and it's open house.
I think we've covered everything that we wanted to on this initial kind of launch for it. But if people do want to get involved and find out more, what do they do to work with you on this?
Yeah, by all means, get in touch with us. You've got the contacts from, if it's on a communications basis, you've got our communications team's contacts. If it's more on a technical basis, then please get into contact with Jason Booth and the team, or likewise come through to myself, or use even though we're all in remote areas, the phone lines still work and they still divert out to us. So we hope it stimulates interest. We hope people will back the kind of hashtag of back to play, and we hope it has an impact and helps the industry. Actually, it's not just the ground staff affected by this, it's the companies as well that supply the products, and we know that in many cases there are people right now on furlough, and I think I'd just like to extend my best wishes to anybody who's in those positions. We've had to take tough decisions. We're affected in the same way. And I just hope that we can get through this together and we come out as an industry stronger, and that we've highlighted, some gaps in provision, whether that's the ticking time bomb we've talked about in terms of the age factor, or just upskilling people and giving people the opportunity to learn at a time where it's going to be difficult for us all.